Hello and welcome to Chapter 10, Planning for Entrepreneurs from the Entrepreneurship, the Practice and Mindset, 2nd edition textbook. So in this chapter, we'll be talking about, of course, examining planning from an entrepreneur perspective, right? So when it comes to planning, right, it includes taking action in the real world, right? Planning is the future you envision for your business. So, from an entrepreneurship perspective, the planning is the future you envision for your business. One of the things about entrepreneurship is planning is important. Of course, execution is the most important thing, but you have to plan things out. It helps to envision your idea actually being executed. And of course helps you stay ahead of the game and helps you plan for the good, the bad, and the ugly. And of course, plans will help you crystallize your thoughts. It will help you articulate your business for others to know about. And it can be the foundation for an overall business strategy. Of course, a plan helps you organize your actions as well. If planning pushes you to move forward and take action, then a plan helps you organize those actions in some way. So, of course, the vivid vision challenges the entrepreneur to imagine what a business could be. So, for example, you have these visions of what it could be. Of course, a business you could think of something of a business being successful, but it may not. Or it could be the opposite. It'd be like, I don't know if this business is going to be successful, and all of a sudden it pops off. Of course, you're going to have to, aim to create a document no more than 3 pages long. Of course, this exercise is a way to get out of your usual working environment and to start sketching out or writing. Aim to create a document no more than 3 pages. Of course, this is simply a description of how your business might look into the future. Of course, this exercise doesn't include how you are going to build a business or the steps you need to get there. It's just a description of how your business might look in the future, specifically 3 years down the road, right? So of course, just 3 years from now, where do you see the business? Write it down. Do you see it being a national franchise or a worldwide franchise? Do you see it being a regional powerhouse, a niche market, or dominating a specific niche market, or being a local company dominating the area? So you have to plan out, and that's, envision it being a successful company. Of course, plans take many forms. To develop a vision, gain clarity, as well as answer important questions and timelines and goals. Of course, many entrepreneurs feel that they lack the time for this task, but of course you shouldn't. So there are many different plans that you can do. We talked about the business model canvas earlier, the business brief, feasibility study, the business plan, pitch deck, and so on and so on. So there's various plans that you can write out. It just depends on how much time you want to spend and what resources you have. For example, writing a business plan is going to take a tremendous amount of time and effort to do. As of late, folks haven't really written out the business plan as they once used to. But at the very least, you should write at least a business, plan out a business model canvas so you can see your business, the envisionment of it being built out. That's where I would see you start off in that perspective. Of course, as we talked about the business model canvas, there is a video out that I also created about this, but just to recap on the business model canvas, it's useful for identifying any gaps in the business idea. The business model canvas is a type of visual plan especially useful for identifying any gaps in the business, integrating various components. So of course, it's a visual depicted one page. It talks about, there's 9 blocks in this business model canvas. Talks about the key partners, key activities, the value proposition, the customer relationships, customer segments, key resources, channels, cost structure, and revenue streams. So of course, completing each square, each section of it, kind of makes you think about the business and the important concepts that needs to be built to have a successful company. The business brief is a brief document outlining the company overview, It's 2 to 3 pages, basically company overview, value proposition, customer milestones, basically at a glance, right? So it's again, just like the brief, it's a brief overview of your company. Feasibility study. It's basically an essential planning tool that allows entrepreneurs to test the possibility of their initial idea, whether it's important, whether it's worth pursuing. So it focuses on the market, the suppliers and distributors. So again, to see if there's an opportunity, I would suggest doing some form of a feasibility study if you're going to produce a physical product. And I say this because I remember years ago there was a golf instructor. I remember, so I was taking a course to learn how to golf, and the golf instructor talked about a story how he created this, he developed this golf training tool that would be strapped around your knee to help the golfer balance themselves out and form the proper stance when golfing. And so again, it would go around the back of your knee. This tool, this golfing tool, and of course, it would go around the back of your knee to help the balance. The problem was that he didn't do a proper feasibility study to assess that in the U.S. golf market is not into that type of golf training tool. And so he said he had this warehouse full of this golf tool, training tool that nobody wanted to buy. He said the only market that I had potential was Japan. And so he was stuck with all these tools because he didn't do his proper feasibility study to determine if there's a market in the U.S. for it. He knew the game of golf very well, but he just didn't do a proper feasibility study. So of course you really want to do that before you go out and spend hundreds and thousands or thousands and thousands of dollars in a product that no one's really going to want. The pitch deck. Once you've written out a business plan or a business model canvas, or you've done a feasibility study, the pitch deck really comes out to, it's a brief presentation about 12 to 15 slides. Of course, there is people that say 25 slides or more, but at least anywhere from 12 to 15 slides. It really is a presentation of highlighting the important elements of your feasibility study, your business model canvas, your business plan. Of course, again, in some places, the pitch deck has replaced the business plan. It really is, and of course, present no more than 5 minutes is usually the pitch deck, depending on the location, but 5 minutes or so, and it's really again giving the highlights of the business that you have. A lot of competitions have now the pitch deck and require it. The business plan, of course, one of the most traditional formats out there. Honestly, not many investors are going to ask for a business plan. Bankers, I've never really heard of a banker, and I could be wrong, but I've never really heard of bankers as, let me see your business plan. Especially for startups, bankers are not going to take the risk on a startup company. So I wouldn't waste your time. If you have a business plan, you're a startup company, don't waste your time going to a traditional bank because they're not going to lend you the money. They're only going to lend you the money once you've been in business for a while and you have good financials. But at the very beginning, don't bother. Of course, the business plan includes, the mission, strategy, the tactics, the financials, the objectives, a 5-year forecast of your income, profits, and cash flow. Divided into 3 sections. The business plan, right? What's the business concept, meaning the industry, the business structure. Then, of course, the second part is the market section, who are the potential customers, and the final part, of course, is the financials. So again, the business plan is much more of a bigger document, about 40 pages. Includes that information. A lot of research will have to go into it, and it's a very time-consuming process. I've written a business plan myself, and I was also part of a startup company that had written a business plan. So that wrote a business plan, I was part of that as well. Um, Plans take many forms. Again, it's how do you want to do it? Again, there's many ways of plans. So pick one, decide what you want to do. Questions to ask during planning. Again, what is your business and how does it add value? So I think that's one of the most important things. Like, what value, what pain are you solving in the market? So think about that. What pain are you solving in the market? Write a concept statement. Again, a written representation of your vision. So again, what do you want to include? I mean, including all these features of your product or your service, potential problems, and your target market, and get it down to where you can remember like the back of your hand. Uh, who is your customer? Of course, you want to write who your target customer is. It gains a it really paints a clear picture of what of your right customer segment for your business. You think about the target customer, it really is the person that you're trying to target. Again, every successful business does not target every business or every individual. It has a specific niche, a specific target customers that they want. For example, Orange Theory, if I mentioned this example before, it's a gym facility whose target market is women making over $60,000 who have discretionary funds to spend at their gym. That is who their target market is. Now, they're of course not going to discriminate against any other people who want to go to the Orange Theory, but they're only interested in those particular individuals. That's who their target market is. Everyone else is welcome, but they focus on that, and that's what they build their business around. You can look at other businesses as well for their target market. That's who they build their business for. How big is the market? Of course, you have to analyze how big is my market. Is there potential for one to penetrate that market? How will you enter the market? Of course, how are you going to do that? Problems being solved. Describe the needs of the product it fulfills. What do you know about the industry? So you have to become very knowledgeable about the industry. It doesn't make sense to get into a business where you don't know the industry very well. You have to be able to know the industry, the sales cycles of the industry, the target customers of the industry. So you have to be really knowledgeable on that. Who's your competition and why are you better? The last thing you ever want to say to an investor or to anybody who wants to invest in your company is, I have no competition. You always have competition. If there's no competition, that means there's no market for it because nobody wants it. You always have some sort of competition. If and the most difficult competition you'll have is people's pocketbooks. Why am I going to pay for this product or service? That's a competition in itself, and of course you have others as well who are competing for the business that you're serving. Who is on your team and what do they have to bring on the table? It's very important to have a strong team around you, and what do they bring to the table? So you have to note down what key skills and duties they have. Again, your projections of your financials. This is really a kind of a guesstimate of how your projections as to your business. Make them credible and believable. Don't forecast that in year one you're going to make $100,000 and then by year five you're going to make $100 million. That from going from zero basically to $100 million in less than 5 years, that doesn't happen at all very often. It's a rarity. Again, it doesn't really happen if at all. I'm not going to say never, but it's very difficult to do. That. So make sure that you have good, strong, sound financials. The business plan debate. Again, the business plan takes the longest to create. There has been a tremendous amount of debate about whether or not you should write a business plan. I will say this. If you don't have to write a business plan, don't write a business plan. It is very time consuming. It will take time to write one, and if it's not for a competition, if it's not for a class, I wouldn't write it. Believe me, banks are not going to want to see a business plan for a startup because they're not going to give them money for it. So don't waste your time on that. Don't waste your time if you want to do it for fun. You're better off doing a business model canvas to see if your business idea is going to have any potential. Again, if you want to take the time to write a business plan, go ahead, but you don't necessarily have to. The business plan, of course, allows to articulate a vision. And again, it's people are not going to want to read a 40-page document. It's very difficult for people. They're just not going to do that. Again, tips for writing any type of plan. Business plan needs to be tailored to fit the customer needs. Potential investors will want to know more about the financials. That's probably most important. If you're going to write a business plan, one of the most important parts to focus on in the business plan, of course, make sure you have spelling and grammar check. Make sure you have a good, strong opening. Know who your customer segment is, your target customers, and make sure you have good, sound financials. Investors will look at the financials very deeply, and if they see any flaws or they see any mishaps or things that just don't make sense, they will call you out on that and be less keen to invest in your company. Remove any fluff. Again, this is a business plan. You don't have to, or any type of plan that you're doing, remove any fluff. Be straight and direct and to the point. Too much weirdness can detract from the main message. Don't write industry jargon. Write it very, very simple. Define your target market, who they are. So make sure you define that. Be realistic. Again, be based on facts. Don't make up your own things. Be very based on facts, because the investor or the people who are looking at this will definitely know whether or not you're being realistic. I mean, whether or not, if you're being realistic or not. Focus on your competition. Again, there's no such thing as no competition. There's always competition, and focus on how you plan to compete against that. Avoid the exaggerated hockey stick. Be conservative in your approach to financials. Again, don't be overly optimistic. Investors will not appreciate that. They need to see that you're credible, and don't put your financials way above that, right? Present a more credible percentage of the market you plan to share. Of course, if you plan to feel like we're going to capture 50% of the market next year, probably not credible. It's better to present a more credible percentage, like, we're going to, we feel that this business will capture 10% of the market next year. That's more realistic than 50%. Again, avoid typos. This got me in trouble in my own business plan. Make sure you check for grammar issues. Understand your distribution channels. Know when your product will be delivered. Be honest about your weaknesses. It's better to be upfront and be like, hey, this is my weakness. It's totally better to do that upfront than to wait until the last minute, because investors will be able to probably help you bring that person. They'll probably help to bring that person who doesn't have. If you don't have that strength, an investor can come in and, of course, help with you find a person that can bring that strength of the weakness, or the weakness, to help bring someone who has that strength that you are part weak of. Of course, use visuals, bring ideas to life, write a business plan where your business is more established. And so, again, it's important to plan out your business idea, whether it's a business model canvas, do a feasibility analysis. If you need to do a business plan, to go right ahead, but I just warn you that it is very time consuming. All right, that wraps up chapter 10, Planning for Entrepreneurs. Thank you.